the morning show. I'm David McGliath, and tonight I'm very pleased to have a variety show for you at home at breakfast time, on your way before getting ready for work and school. But if you have time, you'll be very pleased to hear we have in the studio for interviews this morning a very interesting gentleman by the name of Dr Glockenspiel. Now, we've had him on the show before in the past, you may remember. Tonight, however, he's been up to some very interesting new work, and we have an opportunity to talk to him. He's been well known for his piano tutorials, his piano teaching, as well as a concert pianist. But recently, Dr Glockenspiel has also been composing, and we have him in the studio tonight to ask him about his work. Dr Glockenspiel, can you tell us how have you been progressing with your work as teaching and your composing?
A very interesting question. It's funny you should ask. You see, it all started when I started at the start. And I thought, well, there are so many compositions today, and most of them are by dead composers.
Composers?
Yes, so I thought I would change the trend and write something while I'm still alive.
That's a very lively way of going about your composition, Dr Glockenspiel.
Thank you. Well, very interesting you should put it that way, because I started this composition, you see, and suddenly it dawned upon me, like an angel exploding in front of the Virgin Mary, that my composition, as I'd hitherto written, was perfect.
A perfect composition?
So I stopped composing and I realized this is all you need for a brilliant composition to rock the world.
Would you like this piece played at your funeral, Dr Glockenspiel?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because I think when I die, this piece will have been composed by a dead composer.
Posthumous?
I don't find it very funny.
It's a very serious matter.
Well, the fact is that this composition, you see, is not just a jumble of lots of notes.
It's not?
As most compositions are. It is a composition with one note.
It's minimalist, is it, Doctor?
It's the perfect number. I mean, I realised that with this one note, you can't do any better than that. I mean, imagine having two bosses.
Better to have one boss?
Exactly. So, this one-note composition is just simply brilliant, if I may say so myself.
How on earth did you decide what note it should be?
That was a great matter of artistic genius. But in the end, after many attempts and plans and trials, I decided on the note C.
Is there a spiritual significance in your selection of middle C, Doctor?
Well, it is in the middle of the piano keyboard, so that's like saying it's in the middle of Earth.
Is this not a little middle of the road?
No, there are no trucks and no cars in my composition.
There could be some refrains, a pause perhaps?
There are no animals with any type of feet in my composition.
Could you tell me please, what instruments is your composition most suited for?
Oh, thank you for asking me that question. You see, this piece is able to be performed by expert performance, of course, by any manner of musical instruments. I mean, you can play it on the piano, as I mentioned, but you can also play it on the flute, or the trumpet, or the violin. You can even play it on the triangle.
Ah, very interesting. There are not many pieces of compositional works, certainly of this calibre, designed for the triangle, and it does come back to a question I had in mind. Are you able to play your composition on a bell?
It depends on the bell, but I do think if you tune a bell. Is a bell a good idea?
On a bicycle it is. A church steeple, however, is this possible to be played in town centres throughout the world?
Indeed, and it is being planned now that my composition be performed throughout the entire world in all manner of settings, of churches, concert halls, and on the toilet.
Can you tell us about the rhythm?
Well, let's not get too fancy here. I mean, with one note. You must imagine, when it is written down, and it is going to be published by a very good publisher by the name of Whole Note Editions, it takes the form of one semi-breve.
What about an encore?
Well, I am working on a new piece, totally different of course, which you could play as an encore. Now, I don't want to give away too much, of course, but it is related. It's quite similar, I suppose, in some ways, in as much as it has one note. But it is a totally different note. Now, I don't want to give away too much, but I'll let you in on a little secret. The working title has the word in it, flat. Now, I haven't even said what my composition is called. You didn't even ask me that, did you?
Please,
No.
if you would.
Well, it is called C.
We see, indeed. And could you give us, I'm sorry, just, could you give us a, sorry, it's my girlfriend. Could you, I'll put this away in a minute. Could you, for our viewers' pleasure, sing for us this morning a preview of the work we're discussing?
Well, I mean, watching television this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depending on where you live, I wouldn't want to give away this precious piece for free. You know, people pay good money to go to a concert and listen to my composition. They may buy a CD of it, or they may buy the printed music, which, by the way, it's in the planning, but it's going to feature a beautiful picture at the front, and a beautiful picture at the back, and of course in the middle is my composition.
Perfection. Our viewers who have purchased a ticket for the inaugural night coming up on next Tuesday at the Opera House may wish to turn their television sets off at this stage if they do not want to spoil the surprise of the work. And for those who have no intention of purchasing either the CD, a ticket for the concert, or the published music, may be interested to hear a
That was brilliant! I think I will make that into my next composition.
music interrupters. For those, though, who would like to hear a little preview of the composition we're discussing, I think it's only fair enough that on the media of television that you have the choice to listen or not. So, Dr Glockenspiel, if you would, could you give us a little hint of the vocal rendition of your single note work?
Well, if you wish. Thank you for all that applause, which I can hear coming through the television sets.
Well, I, for one, am a ticket buyer now. You can get the CD if you log on to our network website, and you'll find a clip of the interview with Dr Glockenspiel. His upcoming work is also going to be posted here when that is available. Thursday night, however, the Opera House will be seeing you there. We've heard a pre-rendition of part of the work, and it is sounding magnificent. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Doctor.
It was a pleasure.
We're most honoured to have you here. Please tune in tomorrow morning. We have an interview with a very colourful artist who's working with minimalist pigment on eggshell. Yes, also an interview with a delightful young woman who's very good at singing. She also happens to be a friend of mine I met online dating, and we'll be answering some of your questions that you've been emailing in. Some of these questions we have not had time for with Dr Glockenspiel, but afterwards we'll be putting these questions to him and you may find your answers tomorrow. Good morning on Television Network. We'll see you then. Thank you very much.
Good night, good evening, good afternoon.